Before the month of September, I decided for Suicide Prevention Month that I was going to do the 38 challenge for 38 days straight. And I originally did this to raise awareness for suicide prevention, and I'm hoping that I did that. But what also happened is that I learned a lot of lessons about myself, about grit, about hard work, about discipline, about resiliency, and most importantly, how of all this plays into vulnerability. And all this was forged through pain, through uncomfortable situations, through placing myself in a position that I knew was going to stretch me physically. So what is the 38 Challenge? The 38 Challenge is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that I founded in memory of my brother, United States Marine Corps Captain Matthew Brewer, and former linebacker at the Naval Academy, who wore the number 38. Matt died by suicide in 2021 due to the effects of PTSD and CTE. In memory of Matt, I created a warrior workout. The original 38 challenge consists of 38-minute AMRAP, as many rounds as possible of a 400-meter run, 38 push-ups, 38 sit-ups, and 38 squats. So you do as many rounds of those as you can in 38 minutes. But the most I've ever done is 10 rounds, and the most I've ever heard of anyone doing is 11 rounds with a vest. So over the course of 38 days, I did, give or take, 10,754 push-ups, 10,754 sit-ups, 10,754 squats, and about 70 miles of running. Every single day, I went to the track and I did this exercise. And here are the things that it taught me. Number one is that at the core of what we do at the 38 Challenge is doing hard shit. Whether this be pushing yourself physically, whether it be having difficult conversations, asking for help, doing things that push your boundaries, because as we know, the only way to grow and become a better person is to put yourself in these painful, uncomfortable circumstances so you can build resiliency and build grit. And at the core of all of this, at the very center of it all, is being vulnerable. So before these 38 days started, I placed myself in a point of reflection, and I forced myself to do something that I knew was going to be super taxing on my body. And by doing this, I showed vulnerability. By doing this hard thing of this intense exercise, which burns about 1,000 calories, you do it. It beats up the knees. It beats up your joints. I knew all this was going to happen, and I did it anyways. Doing something that is uncomfortable, doing something that you know is going to be hard, but will benefit you and the people around you, that is what being vulnerable is all about. So the number one thing that I learned is that at the center of pain, at the center of uncomfort, doing hard shit is what we're about at the 38 Challenge, and being vulnerable is in the middle of all that, and it holds all that together. Which brings me to my second point. It's the thought of doing something uncomfortable that causes anxiety, that causes depression, that causes conflict, that leads to suicidal ideation. You have to attack these feelings. You have to chase after them. You have to conquer them. The only way to alleviate anxiety is to take action. I'll give you an example. Every single day when I got in my car, whether it be in the morning, whether it be after work, I was so tired. I absolutely did not want to do the 38 challenge. I knew how hard it was going to be. I got this uncomfortable feeling in my gut every time that I was going to the track, this feeling of sickness. But I knew that I had to do it. It's not an issue of if you want to do it, if you have the energy to do it. You have to do it. You need to do it, because these are the things that turn you into the person who you look up to. These are the things that push you to be the better version of yourself, to be the warrior, to be the leader, to be the mother, to be the father, to be the friend. Whatever you want to be, you have to chase these uncomfortable feelings. And if you don't chase them, then that feeling in your gut, that feeling in your heart, that feeling in your soul, it will begin to take over your entire body. The anxiety, the depression, it will cripple you. So when I was going to the track, as I was warming up, as I was stretching, as I was putting on my shoes, that feeling, it never went away. Some days I would push off, I would procrastinate, but I knew that I had to do it, and so I did it. And after I did it, every single time, I felt so much better. One of these reasons is because physical fitness is a direct correlation of your mental health. It is arguably the most important thing that you can do to increase and to enhance your mental health is physical health. So one, my endorphins were raised, and two, I got the satisfaction and the gratification of knowing that I did something that was hard, and I knew it was going to be hard, but I did it anyways. That is the same exact mentality we have to have about being vulnerable. It's never going to be easy. Having difficult conversations, asking for help, having a conversation you don't want to have with a boss, with a coworker, with a friend, with a family member, telling someone who you're close to and being vulnerable, telling them what's on your heart, telling them your wounds, your internal conflicts. These are all so very hard. But that's what we do. We have to do it. We have to have these conversations. You have to reach out for help. We don't want to do it. We have to do it. We need to do it. And that is the message that we are spreading at the 38 Challenges. What every warrior, what every man, what every woman needs to understand is that being vulnerable is putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And the only way to grow and the only way to lead is and become a better person is through these times. Once you attack the anxiety, once you overcome this feeling of fear, of uncomfortableness, that is when you grow. And that is when you become the best version of yourself. If you don't seek help, then that feeling that you get will eat you alive. The third thing that I learned was that anytime I did the 38 Challenge alone, my results were significantly worse than if I did it with another person. So the importance of leaning on people, of suffering with other people, with inviting people into these dark times of your life. So the exercise and physical example is, I don't think I got less than 8 rounds when I was with someone else. When I was by myself, it's much harder to get 8 rounds because you don't have someone holding you accountable. You don't have someone pushing you. You don't have someone checking in on you. This is the exact same thing with being vulnerable and mental health. When you lean on people, when you invite other people to share in your suffering, when you can expose your wounds and the inadequacies in your life, then these people will push you. They will have your back. You will be better because of it. So don't do the 38 Challenge by yourself. There will be times in this life where solitude is very important, and being away from people is necessary for your mental health and for you to grow. You need to be able to have the discipline to push yourself. You have to have the discipline to show up and to get it done, whether someone's there with you or with not. But the importance is that you will be better with people in your life who love you and who you invite in and who can share your problems with and who can arm you with courage and insight and advice and mentorship. Lean on these people. Allow them to help you. Be vulnerable. Do the hard thing and invite these people to live this life with you. Number 4, and this goes back to discipline, you have to show up and get it done. Maybe the first day, maybe the first week, I was excited to do the 38 challenge. In the last day, on day 38, I was excited to do it. Every other day was miserable. Why would I want to do the 38 challenge again? If anyone's ever done the workout, it sucks. It's not fun. It's supposed to be incredibly challenging and difficult. But I knew that I needed to do it. Not every day I had my best. Not every day I was getting 8 rounds. Not every day I was getting 10 rounds. When I first sought out, I was like, man, every single day I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. Some days you're going to do worse. Some days you will wake up and it's just not your day. Most days you will feel unmotivated. You will feel anxious. You will feel like you're not prepared for what's about to come. That's okay. You have to show up and you have to get it done either way, not because you want to, but because you need to, because it will make you a better person. On the last day, on day 38, I told myself I was going to get 10 rounds. I showed up. I tied my shoes. I warmed up. I invited my closest friends who I leaned on and who I suffered with and who pushed me, and I told them about my goals. I said, today I am getting 10 rounds. I threw on my vest and took off. Matt was with me on that track. He was pushing me. And I remember just this feeling of energy, of excitement, I knew I was going to get it done, and my friends were there pushing me. So after the 38 minutes, I did about 9 rounds. I told myself I was going to get 10. So I did a 10th lap as well, because that's what I told myself I was going to do. So on that final day, I tied everything together. I showed vulnerability by completing the 38 days and reflecting and suffering and forging the 38 challenge and what we want our mission to be through pain and through suffering and through doing hard things and being vulnerable. We got through the uncomfortableness. We got through the anxiety of doing this exercise. We got through the tiredness, the body being sore, the body being broken down. We got through it all. We invited people that last day to push and to lean on them and to share in that suffering. And once we got through with it and we got those 10 laps, I had tears in my eyes. I was hugging my friends. I had this feeling that I could do anything, that I had the weight of the world on my shoulders, and that I was ready to take it on. Those are the feelings that I had after those 38 days. To be honest, I felt invincible, ready to take on anything. So fast forward. I went back to St. Louis the following day. Actually, on day 38, I went home to see my family in St. Louis. And I ended up getting COVID. And I think the reason that I got COVID is because I pushed so hard, is because I broke my body down for those 38 days, and I did not allow myself to rest, to take a break, to take time for myself, to focus on my body. And if I were to go back and do it again, I would still do those 38 days, and I likely will again because of the things that it taught me mentally. But there's another side to this coin, and we'll go into that story next. So when I got back to St. Louis, I enjoyed time with my family. We were getting work done. I was, like I said, I was excited. I was motivated, ready to take on whatever was next. And then I got hit with COVID. So I woke up on a Thursday morning. I was about to fly to Tampa to see some amazing friends, some amazing mentors, had a bunch of podcasts lined up. It's going to be a great networking opportunity for myself as an extrovert. I get energized by being around other people and meeting people and networking. So I was super jazzed, right, to go to this. And everything was going awesome. And I woke up Thursday morning and I felt like shit. So I packed my bags. I was on my way out the door, and then I decided, just in case, to take a COVID test. So I took the first one, and an at-home COVID test. Took the first one, positive. It's like, these things don't work anyways. I took another one, positive. Took a third one, positive. So I had COVID, and I had to cancel my trip. For me, as someone who is so driven, who prioritizes mental clarity and productivity and getting things done, these few days were very, very, very challenging for me. My energy levels were low. My mental clarity was not there. I had this brain fog, right? I felt absolutely horrible, and I could not get myself to just rest and take a break. I still tried to work through COVID. I tried to set up meetings. I tried to plan. I tried to do this. I tried to do that, while my body was telling me to do anything but that. And over these 2 days of trying to push through and not allowing myself to rest and not allowing myself to recover, I quickly spiraled into a point of anxiety, into a place of depression, into thoughts of negativity, of not being good enough, of imposter syndrome, of doubt, being anxious about what will happen in the future, and that all my plans were going to fail, and that now I didn't have these podcast guests, so the podcast is going to fail, and all these different things, right? And it got me to this place where I had a different feeling in my gut, different from the one on the track. This was the gut feeling of depression. This was the gut feeling of anxiety taking over my entire life, it crippling me. The ability where I couldn't think, I couldn't do anything. That's where COVID and my inability to rest and inability to take time for myself led me to. So Thursday went on, Friday went on, Saturday went on. All of these days, I kept trying to work, and I kept beating myself up for not being able to work, for not pushing through these challenging times, for not pushing through COVID, for being sick. I placed all that burden on myself. And Saturday night, I got to a point, and I don't suggest this, but my thoughts were spiraling. I was going downhill quick. So I went on a run. I went on a run with no headphones. I ran, I want to say, about 8 miles, up hills, down hills, in about 8 o'clock at night. So it was very dark and couldn't see much, but I just ran, and I let my thoughts run rampant. And again, I don't suggest this if you have COVID. That's just, I'm weird. And then after that, I listened to my own advice, and I showed vulnerability. So I texted 5 of my good mentors, and I said, this is where I'm at. I said, I got COVID, and it led me to forcing myself to take a break. And during this time, feelings of doubt, anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, they all started to creep in. I texted them. I said, what do you do when you feel overwhelmed? And I got some amazing responses back. Let's say the key takeaways from it are to take time for yourself. My body, my mind, my soul, my heart, most importantly, God was telling me to slow down And I needed to listen to that. And I realized that I needed to take more time for myself to experience solitude, to experience rest, to experience mindfulness, to work on breath work, and to prioritize my faith. So some pieces of actionable advice for when you feel overwhelmed. Number one, first and foremost, reach out to someone for help. That is the most important thing, and I'm so glad that I did that, because the words in which I got back and the actionable advice that I received helped me to get through that. So number one, ask people for help when you feel overwhelmed. Reach out to people in your life who you trust, because they will talk you down. Number two, prioritize meditation, mindfulness, and breath work, because when you do that, you allow your brain to relax, you allow your thoughts to calm down, and you allow yourself to be re-energized, to be rejuvenated by what you've already had the whole time. And meditation is incredibly productive because it allows you to think more freely. It allows you to manage your time better. It allows you to focus on one thing instead of your mind running around all over the place. It limits distraction. So number one, mindfulness and meditation. Another piece of advice that I got, and one of the ones that I remember the most, is that we create the situations that overwhelm us. Everything that was spiraling through my head with the 38 challenge, the podcast, the events, the what does the future look like, all those were created by me. Therefore, I could stop all of that. I could not have this podcast. I could never put an event again. I could shut the 38 challenge down. But when we realize and understand that we don't want to do those things, that we want to accomplish and conquer the things that we've set for ourselves, we want to chase our dreams, then you understand that the feeling of overwhelm is a feeling that's going to pass. That was one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I was feeling overwhelmed in this dark place. You have to be able to feel, you have to be able to learn and reflect and to reach out to people when you are feeling the most vulnerable, right? When you are spiraling, when you are in this dark place, these are the times when it's most important to reach out to other people. So I hope that you learned something from this podcast. I hope that my experiences will help you. And as always, let us know your thoughts. If this conversation helped you, if anything in this you want to learn more about, please reach out to us, and we look forward to chatting with you.